I am just here for the next 4 hours to do the goodest show I can do.
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do, that's what this is about.
That's what this is all about for the next 4 hours here on KCMO 95.7 FM. Me doing the goodest job I can. Good morning. Happy Monday. We are kicking off the week on 95.7 FM KCMO. And the media is going to go for its kill shot of Joe Biden this week. That's what this week is going to be all about. They are going to try to shame, and if they need to, embarrass Joe Biden to try to get him out of this presidential race. That's going to be their goal. Don't kid yourself. The media is not suddenly waking up and trying to do its job as honest journalists. They don't care about that one bit. They are simply here because they realize Joe Biden has embarrassed them. And they realize that Joe Biden probably at this point cannot be Donald Trump. So they are doing everything in their power to figure out a way to get him out of the race. And they will roll the dice with Kamala if they have to, and they will, check off all the DEI boxes and try to let that drag them across the finish line.
The road to hell is paved with the goodest intentions, right?
Oh, man, it's so true. And that's where we find ourselves right now. And this plan started after the interview that Joe Biden did with George Stephanopoulos that, was supposed to air in full yesterday morning during the Sunday show. But instead, it aired in full on Friday night. And I didn't ruin my Friday night watching the president, but I watched it over the weekend. And whether it was basic grammar, whether it was an inability to articulate the most basic things, whether it was the inability to answer the question on whether or not he watched his own debate, it was embarrassing. It was not the kind of interview you would expect to see or hear from the President of the United States. And to me, that interview was the final nail in the coffin for Joe Biden in his reelection bid in 24, because the media is going to do everything in its power to get him out. The most simple question asked by George Stephanopoulos, theoretically the easiest question asked by George Stephanopoulos, Joe Biden could not answer.
Did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
He wasn't asking Joe Biden if he watched himself in a presidential debate from the late 80s or early 90s. He's ran half a dozen times. He asked him if he watched a debate from literally 8 days prior to that conversation. And he doesn't know the answer. He can't give a definitive answer. I mean, I'll continue the clip, but that's just unbelievable to me.
Did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
Well, what I want to get at is, what were you experiencing as you were going through the debate? Did you know how badly it was going?
Yeah, look, the whole way I prepared, nobody's fault mine. Nobody's fault but mine. I prepared what I usually would do, sitting down, as I did come back with foreign leaders or the National Security Council, for explicit detail. And I realized about partway through that, I get quoted, the New York Times had me down at 10 points before the debate, 9 now, or whatever the hell it is. The fact of the matter is that what I looked at is that he also lied 28 times. The way the debate ran, not my fault, no one else's fault. No one else's fault.
But it seemed like you were having trouble from the first question in, even before he spoke.
Well, I just had a bad night.
I mean, that's as rambly an answer on a very simple question as you can possibly get. Eventually, he comes around to Trump's a liar. But does that instill any confidence in you? I don't care who you want to vote for. Does that instill any confidence in you when you watch that on Friday night or you hear that this morning for the first time on KCMO? There's no way it possibly can. And that's why Democrats realize they've got a massive problem on their hands here. And at this point, even if they roll with Kamala, they are just trying to limit the damage, in part, in the House and in the Senate. But you are having leak after leak after leak drop here. New York Times reporting this over the weekend. Many Democrats have publicly expressed support for the president or remained quiet about any misgivings. One senior White House official, however, said in an interview on Saturday morning that Mr. Biden should not seek re-election. You've got senior White House officials leaking to the New York Times that they don't think Joe should do this for another 4 years. You've got reports on Axios. Headline here, behind the curtain, unbendable Biden versus breaking point Dems. CNN reporting last night that there was going to be a big meeting today with Biden and Senate Democratic leaders, and that was scrapped because it leaked to the media.
Breaking news coming into CNN. A source familiar with Virginia Senator Mark Warner's thinking tells me that the private meeting that he was trying to organize for tomorrow with other Democratic senators to discuss a path forward as it pertains to Biden and his campaign, that's no longer happening. The source tells me the purpose of this private meeting with other Senate Democrats tomorrow was to get them on the same page about the future of President Joe Biden's candidacy. But after it leaked out to several media outlets, including CNN, it was scrapped.
That's right. That came on CNN last night. That story dropped. So all these things are happening. All these things are circulating heading into this week. Last week was about trying to figure out whether or not Team Biden was really ready to acknowledge reality. And what the media and Democratic leaders realized is that Jill Biden, and Hunter apparently as well, don't want to go. They're enjoying riding the gravy train. So now, week 2, since this debate, is going to be all about ramping up the pressure. And if that means they need to embarrass the guy, then they are going to do it. It is now an all-out political war within the Democratic Party between, I don't even think it's Joe Biden. I don't think he probably realizes how bad this thing is getting. But between Biden's family, his inner circle, and then those on the outside of the Democratic establishment, including the media. The media didn't suddenly learn how to start doing its job. It's carefully coordinated, it's carefully calculated, and that's exactly what this week is going to be all about. Can they get him out? Will they shame and embarrass him enough to get him out? I think they will. I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't know what ultimately it's going to take. But I do believe that they will get him out. And Bill O'Reilly's been saying it for a long time on this show that Joe's not going to be the nominee, not going to be the nominee, not going to be the nominee. He confirmed it on this show the morning after the debate. And I wasn't so sure, but shame on me for questioning our guy Bill O'Reilly here on KCMO. And he does his morning update at 7:15 every day on 95.7 FM. So do not miss that, just over 1 hour away. 913-408-7957. Pete, do you think, this is on the text line, do you think the Democrats will start confirming some of the stories, the big guy, the Hunter Biden nonsense, just to try to get rid of him? I think it could get worse than that. I could see him going into places that Joe Biden does not want them to go when it comes to reporting on him, when it comes to trying to embarrass him, because clearly they want him out. At this point, that is indisputable. Next on KCMO, it's a big week, obviously, in the presidential race. It also could be a very big week for the future of the Chiefs and the Royals here in Kansas City. And it all starts this afternoon. We'll tell you why and what's going on next on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio. Well, not only is this an enormous week when it comes to the future of Joe Biden being at the top of the ticket in the Democratic Party, but it also is a huge week, potentially, for the future of the Chiefs and the Royals staying in Kansas City. Governor Mike Parson is set to visit Kansas City today And he is going to be here today. We're going to try to get him on the show tomorrow to talk to local officials about how to keep these two teams here in Kansas City. Now, who's he exactly going to meet with? I don't fully know yet. I talked to some people up north. It looks like you'll have some conversations with folks in Clay County about possibly getting the Royals up there. But here's the thing. Clay County officials know they don't have the tax base to get the Royals what they need. They don't have it. So they've got to figure out what to do and how potentially the state can play a role in getting the Royals up north. Now, that has always been the best answer to me, and I've said this for months before we even got to the April 2nd vote, that it made sense to not put all the financial burden on Jackson County to fund both of these teams with a sales tax. You spread the love a little bit. You have the Royals go up north. You keep the Chiefs where they are as Jackson County and Kansas City residents, and you spread the love a little bit. And now, with Kansas in the mix with these junk bonds, this at least keeps both teams on the Missouri side of the state line. That's what this does. But the state's going to have to play a role. The question is this, and this is the question I'd say to Mike Parson. I would ask Mike Parson if I'm a Clay County official and he shows up today talking about how to keep the teams here. I'd say to Mike Parson, what exactly can you do? And I don't mean that out of disrespect, but I mean, you're a lame duck governor. The session's over. You're out of office in January. Like, I know that Mike Parson wants to keep these teams in Missouri. I get that. I understand that. But genuinely asking, what's he going to do? He can't just spend money on the teams unless he calls some kind of a special session, which I find highly unlikely. What's he going to do? I'd be genuinely curious to see how he answers that today, John, unless this thing's just a dog and pony show and there is no answer.
I saw this movie one time where a guy put some money in a bag and he put it in a locker at the airport, and then he had the key. Everybody was passing the key around. So maybe Parson's going to leave a key in the lobby at the state capitol for him to, once I'm out.
Oh, well, I'd like to see Quentin Lucas and Jerry Nolte go on a scavenger hunt around the Capitol. Little teamwork there between, throw Frank White in the mix as well.
And you've got guys like that are running for governor, Ashcroft and others, who have said that they won't give money.
Exactly. The best thing, if you're looking to keep the teams in Missouri in the short term, the person that you should want to win in this race is Mike Kehoe. Now, the other two, Bill Eigel and Jay Ashcroft, have made it very clear. No money for sports teams. You may like that pitch. You may like that approach. I'm not telling you how to feel about it. I'm just saying those two guys have been dead set. No money for sports teams. No ifs, ands, or buts. They've both also said that we've got to make Missouri more desirable from a tax perspective, and that's ultimately how we keep these teams here, not with these fluffy incentives. And I can respect that, but here's the thing. They're not going to walk in there on day one and start slashing and burning tax rates. I mean, I would love that. I admit I would love that. But it's highly unlikely to happen. It's going to take years to get to that point where it's a phase out, most likely, of something like that. So it's not like the Chiefs and the Royals are going to say, you know what, you guys slash taxes January of 25, we're staying. Not going anywhere. I don't think that's how this is going to play out. That would have to be a phased out process anyway. So Mike Kehoe's the guy who's done work with the World Cup, who's kind of in that economic development world, who is most likely to use the tools available at the state level to try to keep the teams here in Missouri. But in the short term, the most obvious thing that can and should be done is figuring out a way to get the Royals up north and to keep the Chiefs where they are at Arrowhead Stadium. And that's why Quentin Lucas 2 weeks ago showed a picture of himself. Quentin Lucas doesn't post things on social media without a clear and obvious goal. Posted a picture of himself in North Kansas City at the, what's that new place? The Oxbow up there. It's a new residential apartment building, big fancy spot, pools on the roof, the whole deal. I've been there once to check it out, get a great view of downtown Kansas City. Quentin Lucas posts a picture of himself on the roof of the Oxbow overlooking downtown Kansas City, Missouri, and posts something along the lines of, working together with our partners up north to build a better region, blah, 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 one of those things. That was about figuring out whether or not it's best for him and best for the region and best for Missouri to keep the two teams on that side of the state line by having the Royals go up north and keeping the Chiefs where they're at. Because if Quentin Lucas knows his legacy, which some may argue is already teetering, is toast. He is fried if the Chiefs go to Kansas. So at this point, I think he would be wise to willingly allow the Royals, or not allow them, but encourage them to explore places like Clay County, which would still be good for downtown KCMO in some capacity, while maintaining the Chiefs' location where they're at, while keeping the Chiefs where they're at. That's the best case right now for Quentin Lucas, the most realistic best case scenario for Quentin Lucas and for KCMO. Keep the Chiefs where they're at. Embrace Arrowhead, of course, everything that complex entails. You've got the infrastructure. You cannot afford for that place to be a desert. And then have the Royals look up north and spread the tax burden around the metro a little bit while keeping both teams on that side of the state line. 913-408-7957 is the studio line and the text line here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We are streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. The idea that the Royals are going to go downtown seems highly unlikely to me at this point in time. I know some of you are asking that right now on the text line. I just don't see how it works based on the debacle that was April 2nd. So, and for the Royals, I'd rather be in that North Kansas City spot than, in a field in Wyandotte County. I'm just saying, if they truly care about being in a community-type setting with great walkability and things like that, then Clay County in North Kansas City is arguably even a better option than downtown KCMO when you talk about safety and crime and things like that. 913-408-7957. The most embarrassing thing I saw over the weekend I will share with you coming up on 95.7 FM, KCMO. It is the most embarrassing clip you will see from the weekend that was. And by the way, it's not Joe Biden in a sit-down with George Stephanopoulos. It's not. And trust me, there's plenty from that you're not going to like when you hear it. And you're going to be like, whoa, that was embarrassing. But this takes the cake from the weekend. Good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome back. Thanks for being here on KCMO. The president of the National Education Association, the NEA, the big union shop with the teachers across America, Becky Pringle, gave a monologue in Philadelphia late last week about the future of education, calling for widespread changes to make the system more equal, which is, just comical with the way that... these very same people want to talk about equality when they tried to destroy the education system during COVID in the name of keeping people, air quotes, safe. So anyway, this went viral over the weekend after Becky Pringle, president of the NEA, went on this unhinged rant that many compared to a speech given by Dwight from The Office. She did her best, Dwight. Take a listen.
NEA delegates, we can do this work. We must do this work. We get to do this work. We will do this work because our students are depending on us to win all the things. NEA, we have to win all the things. All the things. All the things. Our colleagues are depending on us to win all the things. Keep going, NEA. To preserve our democracy, we must win all the things. Delegates, we won't go back. We will keep going forward because we are the NEA. We are the NEA. We are the NEA. And that's what we do.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. What do you think of that one, John?
I got a teacher there repeating the phrase over and over. I'm like, It's not the most enlightening speech, is it?
Oh, gosh.
Well, let's see what that was. What was that, 3 pats per?
Oh, yeah, 3 pats per word, give or take. I mean, she knew how to bang that podium, that's for sure.
You know the thing.
The thing. How embarrassing is that? I mean, is there a better advertisement, by the way, for homeschooling than Becky Pringle just now and that unhinged rant at the NAA convention in Philadelphia? Holy cow. I looked this up. Guess what Becky Pringle drew last year in pay? Just, take a wild guess. President of the NEA. $495,787. That lady made $500,000 last year. And that's what she's up there screaming about at the NEA convention. And I will add and say, you know what line really stood out to me? Because there was only a few of them. She repeated the same line over and over and over again. We are the NEA! Preserving democracy. All you are supposed to do is teach kids math and English and science and reading and writing. That's it. And that's a very critical job, I will add. Being a teacher is one of the most important jobs we have in society. And gosh, we have great teachers across Kansas City and across the country. But it's unions like the NEA that are destroying it for teachers who want to do good work and for students who just want to learn. These operations and organizations are destroying it. And it's because they are loser leaders like Becky Pringle. Preserving democracy, can you teach kids that 2 + 2 = 4? Is that too much to ask out of you people? What an unhinged lunatic of a rant that is from the NEA president. And she's going on and on and on in this thing. And I just hope, I really hope that there is an awakening at the grassroots level amongst teachers who are realizing that this organization is not looking out for their best interests. They're not looking out for the kids' best interests. And if you had a choice in the matter, I wouldn't give them a dime of your money.
I'm not worth your Red Lobster money.
That's right. I would not give them $1 of your Red Lobster money. I wouldn't do it. And the interesting backstory to all this that's going on right now is that there is some infighting happening within the NEA. The Wall Street Journal wrote about this over the weekend. America's largest labor union has a problem with its proletariat. Union staff walked out of the NEA's annual national meeting on Friday at Philadelphia's Convention Center. The National Education Association Staff Organization, a union within the union, which represents employees against bosses, has filed unfair labor practice complaints with the National Labor Relations Board. By the way, you got to love the union eating up the union. The union within the union within the union within the union, John.
Department of Redundancy Department.
Yes, yeah. The staff union says the parent union wrongly halted overtime pay for holidays. It also accuses their bosses of contracting out $50 million of work without adequately informing members. So this is basically those within the union who are part of a different union eating their own with the chieftain union, the NEA. Is this what teaching kids is supposed to be about? Union members fighting union leaders over nonsense like holiday pay. I want everyone to make what they should make. I want people to be fairly compensated. But we have gotten so far away from the basic tenets of what public education is supposed to be about. And that's just teaching kids. That's it. That's all we're talking about here. Instead, you've got people who are clearing well into the 6 figures screaming about preserving democracy at their annual convention. What does that even mean? You're preserving democracy of banging desks and the whole deal? I mean, it's a circus act with these people. What is this?
NEA delegates, we can do this work. We must do this work. We get to do this work. We will do this work because our students are depending on us to win all the things.
Win all the things.
NBA, we have to win all the things. All the things. All the things.
Win all the things.
We need Herm. You play to win the game. You play to win the game.
That's what
got Corey Bush.
Oh, we have Corey Bush? Oh, yes, that's right. Give me a little Corey Bush. Yes.
The insurrection.
Yep.
Racism.
Yep. Thank you very much there. Well done there on that, Mark. That's what I'm going to say before the ratings reports come out this week. We win all the things! As I'm yelling at John and Mark and yelling at the bosses, we must win all the things! At KCMO 95.7 FM. We are streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. I don't know if this is the beginning of the end or maybe not the beginning, but the middle of the end for the cabal that has been the NEA. But gosh, the sooner the better. Because this group and organizations like this have gotten so far away from what their intended meaning was supposed to be. And that is teaching children. That's it. And teaching them basic things like math, English, reading, not like, preferred pronoun nonsense. Good work there by Bill O'Reilly, who is going to be back on the show next Monday, 1 week from today, when the Republican National Convention begins. Bill is going to be here to preview that Monday morning at 8:30. But a lot happening between now and then. Of course, Joe Biden, another rough weekend coming off the debate last week. He had the interview with George Stephanopoulos, and now you've had nothing but leaks over the weekend from Democratic allies basically saying it's time for him to go. They are going to embarrass this guy out of this election, and I'll get to more of that coming up in 10 minutes. But a Philadelphia radio station has fired the host who had the first post-debate interview with Joe Biden last Wednesday. Now, I'm always going to advocate for local radio. But what does it tell you when Joe Biden's first post-debate interview anywhere in the country came on radio station WURD 96.1 in Philly? Like, with all due respect, and I love local radio, doesn't that tell you a little something? When the first post-debate interview Joe Biden does is with a local radio station? So why was this host fired? Her name is Andrea Lawful Sanders. Well, she admitted on CNN that she was fed questions by Joe Biden's team. So this interview was all pre-planned. The questions and everything like that was pre-planned. She admits this on CNN over the weekend and then ends up getting fired last night. Here's what she said.
You asked 4 questions, and maybe that's what you were allowed to ask by the campaign or the White House. But they were essentially the same questions, both interviews, about accomplishments, progress in your respective state, what's at stake in the election, what he has to say about his debate performance, and what he would say to voters who think their vote doesn't matter or might sit this election out. Were those questions given to you by the White House or the campaign, or did you have to submit questions ahead of this interview?
The questions were sent to me for approval. I approved of them.
Okay, so the White House sent the questions to you ahead of the interview?
Yes.
Okay.
I got several questions, 8 of them, and the 4 that were chosen were the ones that I approved.
Okay. And the reason I ask is not a criticism of either of you. It's just that if the White House is trying now to prove the vim, vigor, acuity of the president, I don't know how they do that by sending questions first before the interview so that the president knows what's coming.
I love how CNN's acting like, once again, an honest arbiter of the news, please. I mean, CNN, Donna Brazile, infamously gave Hillary Clinton questions back in 2016 before a presidential debate against Donald Trump. And now CNN's up there like, I don't know who would ever give questions to somebody. But clearly, CNN is now in the business of getting Joe Biden out of this race and hoping that people's memories, are all of 24 hours old. Don't remember what they did back in 2016. But besides the point, I don't think this lady deserved to get fired. I don't. she had an opportunity to score the interview with Joe Biden, the first one after the debate. And if part of that is, guess what? Here are the questions we want you to ask. Okay, that's happened in media since the beginning of time. Now, maybe her mistake is admitting it, right? Like her mistake is actually going on CNN and saying, yeah, they gave me the questions. Like, it's not a great look. But this radio station, WURD, which is an urban talk station in Philadelphia, put out a statement on firing this host. Her name, once again, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and put black media has a long history of advocating for the interests of the black community. This practice of delegitimizing black voices continues today. WURD radio is not a mouthpiece for Biden or any other administration. Okay, I don't think you should be. I don't believe you are, by giving him a platform to spew whatever talking points he's gotten. I don't like the idea of any political figure saying, hey, here are the questions I want you to ask. I don't like that. I don't. But things like that happen all the time, from local to statewide to national media. And the fact that this lady lost her job over it? No, this should just be a massive embarrassment and a black eye for the Biden administration, or the Biden re-election team is really what it should be, not the administration, although the administration as well, indirectly. But it's really an indictment on the campaign that they have such little confidence in their guy who does not know what he's talking about when he gets up there and talks to anybody anymore, that they need all the questions to be pre-planned. But if we're going to go through media and start firing people based on, what deals they are cutting in the back rooms with the people they interview, not going to be many people left. I promise you that. I promise you. There's not going to be many of them left. Reading through this 2-page letter that was just dropped from Joe Biden to his fellow Democrats in Congress, writing that he's not going anywhere. That's right. Joe Biden is not going anywhere. That's the message here from Joe Biden as he writes this letter to fellow Democrats. Wow. Okay. Oh, boy. It really is Wolf of Wall Street, is it not?
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. The show goes on.
The difference is nobody's cheering. That's the difference. So Joe Biden's doing his best Jordan Belfort, Leonardo DiCaprio from Wolf of Wall Street. The difference is he goes on his rant, grabs the microphone, I'm not leaving! And everyone's like, damn it! Oh, crap. Oh. So here's this letter in part. Fellow Democrats, Joe Biden writes this morning, now that you have returned from the July 4th recess, I want you to know that despite all the speculation in the press and elsewhere, I am firmly committed to staying in this race, to running this race to the end, and to beating Donald Trump. I have heard the concerns that people have, their good faith fears and worries about what is at stake in this election. I am not blind to them. Believe me, I know better than anyone else the responsibility and the burden the nominee of our party carries. I carried it in 2020 when the fate of our nation was at stake. Oh, my God. I also know these concerns come from a place of real respect for my lifetime of public service and my record as president. I can respond to all this by saying clearly and unequivocally, I would not be running again if I did not absolutely believe I was the best person to beat Donald Trump in 2024. We had a democratic nominating process, and the voters have spoken clearly. I received 14 million votes, 87% of the votes cast across the entire nominating process, 3,900 delegates, making me the presumptive nominee of our party by a wide margin. This process was open to anyone who wanted to run. Oh, wow. He's going there, huh? Only 3 people chose to challenge me. One fared so badly he left the primaries to run as an independent. I assume that's RFK. Another attacked me for being too old and was soundly defeated. The voters of the Democratic Party have voted. They have chosen me to be the nominee of their party. Do we now just say this process did not matter, that the voters don't have a say? I decline to do that, writes Joe Biden this morning. I feel a deep obligation to the faith and trust of the voters of the Democratic Party and that they placed in me to run again this year. It was their decision to make, not the press, not the pundits, not the big donors, not any selected group of individuals, no matter how well intentioned. Wow. Well, dude, you didn't run against anybody. But you know what? The party's getting what it deserves. It really is. You trotted this guy out there. You thought he was the best bet to beat Donald Trump in 2020, even though you started to see signs of this coming. You played a short-term game, and you're paying the long-term consequences of Joe Biden. That's what you're getting here. He goes on to say, I have no doubt that I and we can and will beat Donald Trump. He goes on to explain why. He says, more importantly, we have an economic vision to run on that soundly beats Trump and the MAGA Republicans. Dude, every poll shows that Trump is 10 to 20 points preferred over you when it comes to the economy. Every single poll. That's an unbelievable statement to make. He says Trump and the MAGA Republicans want another $5 trillion in tax cuts for rich people so they can cut Social Security and Medicare. We will never let that happen. Okay, Trump's on record, right or wrong, saying that he's not touching it, meaning Social Security. He's made that very clear, but anyway, continue on. We know the way to build the economy, writes Joe Biden, is from the middle out and the bottom up, not the top down, blah, blah, blah. Same old crap he's been saying for 40 years. We're the one lowering costs for families. Oh, okay. Now you crossed the line, chump. You got to be kidding me. We're the ones lowering costs for families? Dude, everyone in this country has seen their costs of their lives go up 20% the last 3.5 years. I mean, fine, pitch me on your economic vision, which blows, but I'll set that aside here because I get it's politics. You are writing a letter to your fellow Democrats in Congress saying you're the ones lowering costs for families? You've been in power for 3.5 years, and people's grocery bills have doubled. My gosh, now we're getting to the beyond insulting part of this letter. But also predictable for a guy who can't speak the English language. Oh, my gosh, John.
Would this letter make some points that the media would then pick apart, do you think?
No, we're not there yet.
We're not there yet?
We're not there yet.
Okay.
No, here's what they're going to do. They're not going to pick apart this letter because then they would be damaging the Democratic brand.
Okay.
You know?
See what you're saying.
They're just going to damage Joe. They're going to embarrass Joe. That's what they're going to do. That's the game plan here. But amazingly, in this letter that Joe Biden dropped this morning, he never said he's doing the goodest job that he can.
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do, that's what this is about.
He didn't say he's doing the goodest job he can in the letter. I guess someone proofread it for him. Jim's in Blue Springs. Jim, you're on KCMO. Good morning.
Hey, was that letter penned in Jill's handwriting or have Jill's signature on it?
Well, the letter says Joseph R. Biden Jr. at the bottom of it, President of the United States of America.
Yeah, but you could see did he scrawl it or was it real nice cursive like what Jill writes?
I'm not a handwriting expert there, Jim, but I don't know.
I think it says Dr. Joe Biden.
Oh, thank you very much there, Jim. Appreciate you, pal. Okay, well, we also have this, and I just played the clip from Joe Biden with George Stephanopoulos when he talked about doing the goodest job over the weekend. So now the media, listen, they're going after Joe. I think they're going for the kill shot this week, but they're now trying to tell you that Joe Biden did not say goodest in that clip. This is from Politico this morning. They write here, the goodest war, from Maureen Dowd's latest in the New York Times. She writes, quote, in my Saturday column, I quoted Joe Biden's line to ABC's George Snuffleupagus about how he would feel if Trump were sworn in as president because he refused to step aside. Quote, I'll feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do. That's what this is about. After my column posted Saturday morning, TJ Ducklow, a Biden campaign spokesman, emailed me to flag that ABC News had updated its transcript to read, I'll feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the good job as I know I can do. That's what this is about. ABC changed the transcript. That does not include the word goodest, despite the fact that we can all hear him say goodest in the clip, John.
Very Orwellian.
Yes.
That's your job in 1984, right, Winston?
Yes.
Redact
I mean,
that.
It is literally the final command. As George Orwell put it, the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and your ears. It was their final, most essential command. So I found the transcript from ABC, and they did change it. It says here, I'll feel as long as I gave it my all, and I did the good as job as I know I can do. That's what this is all about. You listen to this clip. You tell me if it says good as or goodest.
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do. That's what this is about.
Wow. So I think they want Biden out. The New York Times, Axios, Politico, run down the list. CNN, they all want him out. But they're still trying to do it without full-blown embarrassment. But based on this letter that just dropped this morning, he's not going anywhere. He ends the letter that he wrote this morning to the Democrats in Congress, Joe Biden writing here, we have one job. That is to beat Donald Trump. We have 42 days to the Democratic Convention, 119 days to the general election. Any weakening of resolve or lack of clarity about the task ahead only helps Trump and hurts us. It's time to come together, move forward as a unified party, and defeat Donald Trump. Sincerely, Sincerely, Joe Biden. Wow. They're screwed. They are screwed. And I'm okay with that. You know, normally when you're doing the morning show, you don't get a ton of breaking news as the morning unfolds. That's typically what you get in the afternoon, right? Or as the day goes on. You get stories developing and changing, but we have multiple breaking news stories this morning. You have Joe Biden putting out a letter to fellow Democrats as they get set to return from their summer hiatus that he's not going anywhere. He's staying in the race. And then you have this. He was just on with Morning Joe. Joe Scarborough, Mika Brzezinski, the married duo on MSNBC. Joe Biden was on there this morning. And this interview came moments after this letter was released to fellow Democrats saying he is not dropping out of the race. Here's part of what he had to say.
How can you assure the American people that you won't have another night like the one you did in Atlanta?
Look at my career. I've not had many of those nights. It was a terrible night, and I really regret it happened. But the fact of the matter is, how can you assure you're going to be on faith that can intervene on your way to go to, work tomorrow? Age wasn't.
Wait. Stop right there, Mark. Stop right there. Scroll back 10 seconds. What did he say about going to work tomorrow? Just another 10. Scroll back 10 seconds for me here. We're doing this on the fly, so go ahead.
Age wasn't, the idea I'm too old. Created over 15 million jobs, 21 million insured for the ACA, beat Big Pharma, relieved student debts for 5 million people, first black woman in the court. So I think I had a significant run, and that's how I'd measure me. Measure me what I've done. And by the way, in terms of my neurological capacity, I had a physical, a neurological physical as well in February. It's released. I released all my records, all of them. And I have a neurological test every single day. Try sitting behind this desk and making these decisions. You know it. Both of you know it. They know it. I'm not bad at what I do. And now, it doesn't mean I never make a mistake. I do. But I'm making those decisions.
All right. Joe Biden this morning, moments ago on Morning Joe, MSNBC. I don't care what Joe Biden's neurological test concludes. I'd like to see it. I'd be curious on the process, but I really don't care. It's meaningless to me. And it should be meaningless to any of you who had the capacity to think on your own and leave politics out of it. Joe Biden is not mentally capable of doing the job. Now, if he's on the ballot, some of you might say, I don't care. He's my guy. I can't ever vote for Trump. Whatever. That's your prerogative. If he's going to be on the ballot, that's your prerogative. But don't lie to me. Don't lie to yourself about how this guy's got it all together, totally with it, knows exactly what he's saying, what he's doing at all times. You cannot possibly have watched what we've all watched over the last week and a half, whether it was the debate itself, whether it was the George Stephanopoulos interview, and come to the conclusion that the man is in the mental state he needs to be the leader of the free world. You can't come to that conclusion. And I love how they ask, hey, how are you going to make sure you did not have, or you do not have, another night like you had in Atlanta a week and a half ago? And he goes, I put a black woman on the Supreme Court, damn it. It's like, okay, and that means what? And that has what to do with what exactly? So this is the first time hearing this interview with Morning Joe this morning, so I have not pre-heard any of this. Roll some of the other clips for me, Mark, if you could, please.
Let me put it this way. If there was something that was wrong that night, it's not like it comes and that's one night and it goes away. That's why I've been out. I've been testing myself, been testing everywhere I go, going out and making the case. The night of that debate, I went out. I was out till 2 o'clock in the morning that very night. That very night, it drives me nuts, people talking about this. That very night, I was talking to large crowds. Look at the crowds we've gathered everywhere from Atlanta to North Carolina to Pennsylvania, and look at the enthusiasm. But it was right after. Where the hell's Trump been? What has Trump said or done except deny and lie about what he's for? Let me put it this way.
Okay. Well, Trump's been doing a great job hiding, by the way. You know, Trump's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing, which is not doing anything, hiding. For the first time in Donald Trump's political career, he is wisely letting one of his opponents sink himself by playing golf, by staying away. This is the best thing that Donald Trump has ever done in his political career. When your enemy is imploding, let them implode. Do not get in their way. So he's kind of challenging Trump. Where's Trump been? Trump's letting you implode, buddy. That's what he's doing. And, you know, it's something that many of us have wanted him to do when it comes to his political opponents for a long time. He didn't let Biden implode in 2020. He made it about him. If the election's about you, you're probably going to lose. In 2016, it was about Hillary. She lost. In 2020, it was about Trump. He lost. If this election becomes a referendum on Joe Biden, he will lose. Trump literally should play 36 holes a day. I know he needs the, adrenaline from big crowds and big events. And yes, he's got to do some campaigning. But literally, Trump could go play 36 holes of golf between now and November 5th, obviously put together a good ground game and put together the infrastructure you need to run a campaign. But you just make this thing about Joe, and he does have this thing in the bag. 913-408-7957. Steve's in Kansas City. What's up, Steve? Go ahead. You're on KCMO.
Hey, yo, ho, ho, in a bottle of crazy town. Listen, I agree with you there. We need to keep Joe Biden in this thing. We don't need to be pushing him out. This is an advantage for us. If Joe Biden is still in there, you could put Trump on an ankle bracelet in September and we could waltz to the election. Let's not be pushing anybody out of this thing, because look, the Parkinson's doctor has been there 8 or 9 times. It came out this weekend. So they know he's got Parkinson's. They're dealing with that. I'm more worried about the radicals that are making the moves. But they can let them keep them trotting out there. This is great. Kamala Harris is running exactly the same polls as Biden. There's no advantage to going against Kamala. So exactly like you said, have Trump play 36 holes a day, put him in an ankle bracelet in Trump Tower. I mean, we're going to win this thing.
And you can travel down the Mar-a-Lago and stand out there with your flag, Stephen. I know it's going to make you happy. Right?
Hey, man. Hey, he's the Santa Claus of the welfare state. Let him run, ho, 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 all the way to...
Ho, ho, ho. All right.
All the way to a Reagan-esque landslide for us, man. Let's keep this guy in the ball game.
All right. One last ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho. Happy Independence Day.
All right. Leonard and Shawnee. Go ahead, Leonard.
Yeah, Pete, when you played that interview with Biden on Morning Joe, all I heard was, I'm not bad and I'm testing myself. Is that the standard for the presidencies these days?
Yeah. No, you're right. That's where
we're at.
Yeah. Doing a phone call with Morning Joe is proving how tough you are and how mentally competent you are.
Exactly. That's the standard. All right, buddy. Talk to you later.
See you later. Mark in Independence. What's up, Mark? Go ahead, my man.
Hey, I'd just like to tell President Biden, hey, man, just have that cognitive test like Trump took. Let's follow the science, number one. Number two, the Biden family and others around Biden that have been crooked, they're worried about justice in the end if Donald Trump reforms that Department of Justice. That's another reason I hang on like this. And then finally, the Democrats for the lies and extortions, including Hillary, all of this is slowly now catching up with them, and they deserve everything that's occurring now. But the sad thing is that the country has had to suffer the past 4 years, and we're going to have to suffer a little while longer. And God forbid that the Democrats cheat again and steal the election, and that's all I got to say.
All right. Thank you very much there, Mark. We'll see. We will see. It's going to be, listen, it's cliche, but we are living through history. Like, this is a moment in time, and I know it's corny, but this is truly a moment in time where we are watching and living through something that will be a big part of history when you look back on presidential elections and presidential politics. There's no doubt about it. Got 30 seconds for you, Rick and Stillwell. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. Can you imagine the Democrat convention? They've got all these police and everything keeping the protesters out, but could you imagine the amount of protesting inside of the convention?
I don't know. I don't know what the next month's going to look like, Rick. Thank you so much. I don't know what the next month's going to look like. It's possible this is all old news, right? It's possible. I don't think it is going to be old news by the time the convention happens in Chicago in mid-August, but it could be.